Let's get into the news. We got a lot to talk about in the news today.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. North and South American, all the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press.
I'm going to try and run through these to some degree because, there'll be some things that we want to talk about, but there's a lot of stuff going on. So, War of the Ring, the second edition, has a new expansion. I believe it's the third expansion that they have for it. It's called Kings of Middle-earth. Roberto DiMeggio, Marco Maggi, and Francesco Nepotillo, I'm sorry, I'm probably butchered that, are doing it. Publisher is Ares Games, as you would expect. And this one centers on the free people. It has some new additional rules for siege engines. It has new siege engine figures, and it focuses on some of the characters from the free people side that didn't get a lot of attention in the previous expansions or in the base game. Theoden, Denethor, Dane, Brand. They're going to get a little more focus in this game. Basically, this is a message for Maddie. Maddie, that's what's coming. He is right. His son's name is Strider, so he is all in on this. Did you play War of the Ring?
Okay, so what happened was I bought it, and Bruce was supposed to read the rules. And he didn't do that, so I sold it.
There you go.
But actually, we were listening to the Fellowship of the Ring coming down.
Really?
Oh, we both love it. They're huge. He did the first.
I would think that you should get the second edition of War of the Ring. It's amazing. It is an amazing game.
Well, could I rent you for like 2 hours and you could teach it to us?
Yes.
Okay, I will pay you.
You will rent Maddie because Maddie is he's the guy. He is the pro on that.
Well, then I have to rent his wife and baby.
Ooh.
It could be expensive.
It could be tricky,
but it's worth it apparently.
It's an amazing game. There's no question about it. It's a classic of design.
All right.
Back in the day, did you ever play the Richard Berg one? There was a Richard Berg War of the Ring.
Yeah, but the rules were like 400,000 pages long.
Yes, they were. Yeah, it was.
No, we took one look at that and said, I don't think so.
Practically a monster. Next up, Raiders of Scythia. This is Shem Phillips' design. So the next in the Raiders of the North Sea and so on and so forth game is scheduled to come out in 2020. It was just announced. We don't know much about the game right now, except that we're going to be dealing with the female and male warriors in the Black Sea region. And I will say the one thing we do see is that we do see a little bit of art from the game. We see some cards from the game, and the art is a departure. I would say that the graphic design and the art design of all of these games have been very, very similar. They have a very strong style, and they've stuck to it. This is a very different style. I think it's equally strong. I think it's gorgeous. I think it really, really looks good. It still feels very much like it's following their cues. I think their design is very clean. I think their art style is very, very clean.
I do too. I think that they really go for user interface and interaction.
Yeah, UI is their primary concern, I think. And this art is a departure in some ways, but I think it still hits that very, very strongly.
I might. For that, because I think I've worn out Architects and I've worn out the rest of it. So in that sense, it could work, but we'll see.
We'll see. Next up, there was a Kickstarter that we didn't talk about called DEI. I guess you would pronounce it DEI, but it's actually initials for Divide et Imperia, which I believe is divide and conquer. I believe it means essentially divide and conquer.
Imperia
is like is
usually
division and empire or whatever. Yeah. But
I took Latin for about 3 years, a long time ago.
I took 1 year of Latin. How about that?
Yeah. There were 4 students, and one of them managed to get a D. It was amazing.
Oh no, poor guy. That would have been me. That was bad. So the Divide and Imperia is set in a futuristic world that is devastated by a new ice age. It is scrappers. You're playing scrappers, and you are searching for raw materials to exchange with Purebred, the corporation, the evil corporation that dominates this new and terrible
I see.
world.
Okay, so this is alternate history?
Alternate future. It's a dystopia future.
Dystopia.
That is set in Ice Age. You can buy this game with the meeple version, which is cheaper, or the miniature version, which is more expensive. I don't think they sold a lot of meeples. This is this looks like one of those big overproduced games. And
It's done by Simon?
Which is why I didn't talk about it, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's page after page after page. I'm just scrolling, and all I'm seeing is artwork. All I'm seeing is how beautiful this is and how beautiful that is and how this looks and how that looks, and relatively little about the rules. And I'm getting all the way to the bottom of this thing, looking at this. Basically, I'm about to click off the page, and then way down at the bottom, talk about burying the lead. Way down after the art of day and the day avatars and all that sort of stuff. The author, Tommaso Battista, is an architect and author of board games. Cranio, in 2019, Cranio Creations published Barrage, his first game that he released with co-author Simone Luciani. So this is one of the designers of Barrage, and this is
But
his
if
next
it's,
game.
do you really want to do a Cranio Kickstarter?
I don't think it's not Cranio. Cranio isn't doing it. This is by.
I guess I was going to say. I don't think you want to do a Cranio.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think the Kickstarter is up anymore. But I wanted to alert people that the guy, one of the two designers of Barrage, has a new game that is more miniature-y, more dudes on a map, sort of a larger scale game. Might be something you want to check out. We talked about Shem Phillips a moment ago with Raiders of Scythia. Guess what? He's announced another game that is going to be coming out, Viscounts of the West Kingdom. So this is the third. It'll finish the West Kingdom trilogy that was Architects of the West Kingdom, then Paladins of the West Kingdom, and now Viscounts of the West Kingdom. He's only sent out some Twitter posts about this, but we can say that it is a game that is more about deck building and tableau building.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I guess when you think about it, the other ones are to some degree. When you think about it, the other games do have a tableau aspect. You're acquiring cards and you're building them.
Right, yeah.
This seems to be much more of a deck builder game. The worker placement is going to be de-emphasized. And he's an interesting designer, and those are interesting games. I would like to see what he does in in a game that is more in the card space than in the worker space. So we'll see. We announced previously that Marvel United was going to be released, and Simon Games decided to kick it. It's a Kickstarter release. I'm not sure how I feel about major publishers doing major games and putting it out through Kickstarter. I understand the attraction. I mean, you get so much information by what pledge levels people go at, where when they kick it. Oh, there's so many things.
And you get so much more money.
You can get more money that way as well, but they have 12,000 backers, and the game is at $1,256,000 as of today. When you hear this, it will still have about a week to go, so you'll have plenty of time to get on it. And yeah, listen, the great thing about Kickstarter is that you get a pretty good look under the hood. I mean, they give a lot of information. They show you the sculpts. They show you the thing. They tell you about how the
much
game's
more
going.
than you do if you walk into a game store.
Precisely right. Right.
The other thing is, are you saying that because of Marvel, because of Disney and Marvel, that they shouldn't have gone with Kickstarter, or because of Simon? Simon only does Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, I guess it's the Marvel of it is my objection. My objection is that, look, you're going to sell a ton of copies of this game if Marvel United does not get a normal release, then what game gets a normal release? Why is there anything that doesn't get kickstarted? And there's a problem with that, right? If all of the big box main releases go through Kickstarter, then the games that I think Kickstarter most benefits, the smaller games that can get discovered that would otherwise slip under the radar
or not be published
at all, those games could get drowned out if Kickstarter just becomes the de facto release format for all of the big publishers and on all of these games. So I would like to find a way to not drown out those smaller voices that Kickstarter really serves well.
Well, I think Disney is going to say, we don't publish board games and we needed a publisher. And Simon only does Kickstarter.
And Spin Master is the other company that is involved in this, and Spin Master is a huge toy company.
Oh, really? Now that I didn't know.
Yep. So there's a lot going on there, but Yeah, look at it. This is not a game for me. I'll tell you that right now. These are those miniatures with the large heads, and it looks cute. It looks well planned. It looks well designed. I don't think it's going to be my kind of game, but maybe it will be yours. Check it out. Marvel United on Kickstarter. Speaking of Kickstarter, Tools Kanban EV. We didn't talk about it yet, but that has been kickstarted to. They made $600,000 on Kickstarter for it. I did not back it. I'm going to tell you why. I have the original Kanban, and when I've done the deep dive into what this game is, it's not very different. It is a beautiful copy, though. I mean, stunningly gorgeous in a way that the original was a little cluttered and a little, a little tight. He went and redid his Vinhos for the same reasons.
Right.
And
although Vinhos offered a whole new mode.
Yes.
Right.
And this does offer something. There is there's an expansion in here that is, it doesn't look huge, but it's the plugged speed charger expansion. Which unlocks specific persistent special abilities that you can get. So that's different. That adds, but it doesn't look like there's a significant real change.
I haven't played enough Kanban.
I love Kanban.
Yeah, me too. But I haven't. Again, every time I see these new games, I say I have a game at home that's at least as good that I haven't played enough of. So why am I going to go get something else?
Yeah. I think that's fair. Plus, I'm pretty sure Maddie got it. So then we'll.
Well, I mean, that's fine too. And that's the other thing, is that if somebody else, everybody doesn't have to keep buying all the same.
Everybody doesn't have to have everything, right?
Right, exactly.
In your game group, you need to have at least one person that has it, and then you guys can share.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And kind of rip the sides of the games you borrow. Yeah, you can do that too.
Jennifer is referring to her desecration of my copy of Sidereal Confluence, which she borrowed and within 2 days had destroyed. You were so sweet, though. You immediately are like, okay, I'm going to buy you a new copy and I'm going to get it to you immediately. And I'm like, oh, Jennifer, that's other people. I don't care. It's not a big deal. It's
Which was very kind, guys. He's a very kind man. I want you guys to know that.
Well, you're disabled and you're on a fixed income. I don't want you paying for my games. It's not a big deal. It's really not. My collection is to be played.
Yeah,
so
really, right.
That's the way I look at it.
Exactly. Me too. And I have to say, if that had been on the other side, I would have said the same thing you said. Yeah. That's nothing.
Well, plus, you and Matt, you do more buying and selling.
Yeah.
I don't really do that much. I sort of, my strategy is more figure out if I really, really want the game.
Right. And I want to be more like you.
And well, yeah, I don't know. I think that you are, for years and years and years, your buying and selling strategy was my window into a ton of games.
I know, but then how much did you donate?
Yeah. Well, I would throw money into the little can at each one of your game days.
Right, of course.
I would absolutely do that.
That's the whole thing with Kickstarter and all this stuff. We are bombarded with all of these new games.
Yes. Yeah, I think that it's always the ratio, right? What is it? Is like this is a game, I look at it and I think that there is a 50% chance that I might want to keep it. Is that a game that I buy? I think there's a 30% chance. There's no way I'm buying that game. There's an 80% chance. I'm pretty much certain to get that because I don't think there's, other than Vital Lacerda's games, I don't think there's much that I would put higher than 80% chance that I'm going that's going to be a keeper for me because you never know.
No, I know.
Moving on, let's talk about Parks expansion. There's a Parks expansion out, Nightfall. When you hear this, it's probably the last day of the Kickstarter. It is Parks expansion and Parks Memories adds a nighttime element to the game, which looks kind of cool, and the art is so stunning in these games. If you like it, you're gonna like this. There are new wildlife that are in the game. There are new parks cards, and there is a camping trail action, a new action in the game. Which for a very simple game, even adding one new action can increase some playability for the game. If you're a Parks fan out there, definitely check it out. Next thing we're going to talk about is a little situation with Eclipse Second Dawn. Oh. This is a game. This game. It's a Finnish publisher. It is a Finnish game designer. And they decided that they were going to put out this game that was going to be the be-all, end-all of 4X space exploration games. And I love it. I think they really knocked it out of the park. It was a fantastic game. They took just the right Euro mechanics to take this game, to take all of the problems that I have with so many of those types of games, and yet it still feels like that. I'm still building all these plastic ships, and I'm fighting, and I'm rolling I'm chucking dice, and I'm doing all that sort of stuff. But it's just this wonderful combination of those two things. And then they announced that they were going to do a second edition that was going to look better and have a few rule tweaks and things like that. And I said, oh, that sounds phenomenal. And then that Kickstarter went, and then we waited, and we waited, and we waited a couple of years. But guess what? I'm happy to announce it is here. Fulfillment is happening. It is shipping. People are getting their copies. It is starting.
Did you back it?
To happen. No, I didn't. I didn't back it because at the end of the day, it wasn't that different.
Okay.
It's though I regret it now. I want the second
Maddie
edition copy.
did though, right?
Yes, of course, Maddie did.
So it's the same thing.
Of course he did. Well, but this might be one of the ones that I want. I might want to have my own copy of this so that we don't have to keep trading it back and forth. Any game like this where you have tons of different technology tiles,
right,
and you have tons of different ship components
right,
and things like that, you're never going to get it right on the first try, no matter how much you play test. And we have found certain things playing this game. We found that plasma missiles are overpowered.
Yeah, I didn't like it because of that.
Well, this game, the second edition, seems to be a pretty well and thoroughly thought over, okay, how do we take out the dominant strategy of this game? How do we raise up these other strategies that we wanted to be a big part of the game that weren't part of the game? And how do we balance this?
Ketchup and FCM, right?
Yes, yeah. Right. And Ketchup and Food Chain Magnate is very, very similar, except that I think that the ketchup mechanism itself doesn't work. I don't.
Okay, well then, when Maddie brings it or you get it or whatever, I'm willing to give it another try.
I think you should. It's not exactly your wheelhouse as far as the type of game it is.
No, well now I'm a player of Civilization 1 on the computer.
There you go. Okay.
I'm a playtester for Alpha Centauri.
Well, then you might like it.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of different layers like onions.
Do you though? Because when we get together for game night, it used to be that the person that would veto like a lot of games would be Trey, would be the most likely to veto. You are now the person that is the most likely to veto.
That's because I'm picky.
Yes.
I don't play trash.
Oh, Cloudspire. Let's talk about Cloudspire real quick. We have it is coming back to Kickstarter on April 14th. And this one is going to have a couple new bits to it. It's going to have The Uprising and Horizon's Wrath, new people that you can play, new factions that you can play in the game. We have a copy of Cloudspire. Maddie is getting geared up to do a review of it. You have it as well? What do you think?
I think it's really good. I think it's well presented, but the graphics are a little busy. But once you play it, you understand. I'm looking forward. We were just getting ready to explore the co-op, which is what I'm really looking forward to, because trying to play against my usual is I'll just get beaten to the floor. So I was
hoping it's a tower defense MOBA style game, right?
Right. No, and I thought that they implemented the MOBA part very, very elegantly and very smoothly. They didn't overcomplicate it with 400 pages of rules.
Right.
They just abstracted it down, but you still get that MOBA feeling.
Well, we're going to have a review coming up very quickly from Maddie about this. So I look forward to sharing this with our listeners. But Yeah, it looks gorgeous, and most people say that it plays really well. There's some people that say that it's one of those games that you have to play for a little while to really find the depth of it.
Well, the only thing is though, so if you're coming from, pure Euro, then you do have to play it for a while. But I would argue that for those of us who are playing from 4X and who play Dudes on the Map games, then you're going to be
You're right there.
Yeah, you're right there.
Interesting. Kickstarter news that is not about a game on Kickstarter. Kickstarter workers have voted to form the first union in the tech industry.
Right. Congratulations.
Congratulations indeed. I feel the exact same way. I think that we are in a country where the people that are doing the majority of the work are not being protected as well as they should.
Or compensated.
Exactly right. And I think that we have a history in this country of strong unions and then weakening of the unions. And then it seems to ebb and flow. I'm personally of the opinion that even though there are sometimes excesses that happen with unions and there are malfeasances and things that shouldn't be done as far as the way unions work when they get power.
But you look at the CEOs.
Yep.
I mean, what the unions are doing is nothing compared to Boeing.
That's exactly
Wells Fargo.
That's exactly my point of view.
Exactly.
I think that people that are at the whim of the leaders of these corporations, that is an untenable situation. That is a situation which is ripe for abuse, much more than the union system itself. So I'm very, very happy that they are forming a union. I hope it goes very well. Listen, I'm in the Writers Guild. Maddie's in the Writers Guild. We're in a union.
Right.
I'm a union guy, so I got to say that, and I don't love everything about my union, but I support it.
Yeah,
I support it.
Yep.
So happy for that, and this is the bummer. Asmodee put out a press release saying they have done an update to the parts replacement program as of February 18th, 2020. If a game is purchased in the U.S. that has a damaged or missing component, please return the whole game to where you originally bought the game for assistance. They are discontinuing their parts replacement program.
This is just what happens when a company is owned by a private equity firm. They don't care about anybody except the accounting.
And we talked about this when Asmodee started buying this company and buying that company,
we were
becoming
worried.
bigger. We were saying the one worry, it's like all is well, except that if the company gets too big, do they stop paying attention to their players, to their end consumers? And this is directly from the textbook of exactly why you should have many more smaller players in the arena and not one large player.
Right.
Absolutely awful. I want to thank Jamie Stegmaier, who from Stonemaier Games, who put out a wonderful, wonderful post. You should check it out. Stonemaier Games. It's called Replacement Parts: Why would or wouldn't a company offer this service?
Yeah, I do want to bring up something about that, though.
Please do.
Very, very interesting. A friend of mine purchased Wingspan.
Yes.
And the holders for the birds, they were broken, and Stonemaier Games says, well, it's not a listed component, so we won't replace it. Really, and this is a friend who, if that happened. I mean, if she says it happened, it happened.
Oh no, I'm not disputing that at all.
So I'm like, really? So they only replace the components that are listed in the rules.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, really? I mean, so if the box is like destroyed, too bad. It's not in the rules.
That makes no sense.
No.
That
so
makes
I'm glad
no
that
sense
I'm
whatsoever.
able to call them out on this podcast. We'll see.
No kidding. I mean, listen. You are in a customer service mode, right? You are selling things directly to consumers. If you do not back up the product that you sell,
and okay, sure, you can play the game without the box that the bird came in, but she paid for that box.
Yes, she did. I think it is so tone deaf what Asmodee did, and frankly, this example that you're giving me,
right.
These are I get it. These are games with all sorts of tiny little things, and occasionally the right thing doesn't get in the right thing. and the expense of getting another one of those pieces
Right.
and mailing it out. I understand it's a problem, but guess what? That's the cost of doing business.
Right.
Raise the price of the game $1, and
If you have to.
and
But
you
see-
have addressed that cost, that sunk cost, to virtually everyone. It is not that expensive.
Yeah,
when it
the
comes
only
right down
thing
to it.
too that she was saying is that, well, if Stonemaier is going to say, well, you get around 20 pieces, well, what happens when, well, you get stuff in a box?
Yeah.
If you're not going to, back up how many pieces the game is supposed to have, I mean, I can see where you might say the game needs 20 pieces. You may get more because of production excess, but the actual game requires this number of pieces. That's fine. But to just say, well, we're not going to tell you how many pieces you're supposed to get. You can, it's around this number, and maybe that the number that you got isn't enough.
It's infuriating. These are games that are that there's a certain expectation, and for Asmodee to try and change that expectation, I think one of the worst things about it is their solution is take the whole game back to
Right.
where you bought the game. The environmental impact of basically returning and probably trashing an entire
Game because of one die that's not there.
is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The difficulty for these small your friendly local game stores,
Exactly.
that suddenly the onus is on them to do
And
this
the
whole
o-
return
and
policy.
The other thing is receipts. I never keep paper receipts. Now I have to keep paper receipts
Yes.
because that's all Game Empire gives out.
Yeah. And guess what? For you and Maddie, who buy games, play them for a little bit, and then sell them to somebody else.
Right.
Hey, if something's missing from there, good luck.
I
You're
know.
done. Well, I guess with that though, you wouldn't sell the game if it was missing a piece. So
Well,
that's not really
I
true.
just did, but I refunded him. But no, that's always when I sell a game and someone comes back and says there's pieces missing. The immediate response, I always refund and then look for the pieces.
Right. At the heart of it, I read Asmodee's post this way. I read it as, we make a ton of games, because literally they say here that their explanation is that with the number of quality titles in Asmodee's USA growing library, maintaining an independent stock of elements for each game becomes more difficult. We believe offering the customer service through the store that they have purchased the game from will be a better experience. What that is that, look, we make a ton of games. Okay, we can't keep track of everything. Sometimes
But
you're
why
not.
can't they 3D print them?
They could. There's so many ways you can solve this problem. Not to mention, first of all, solve it with quality control.
Right.
Solve it with that your 1% of games that go out do not have a broken or incorrect experience. Right.
That's what Stockmeyer was talking about. That you don't make these miniatures that break as soon as you take them out of the box.
Yeah, before you do that, you do the shake test. You
Right,
shake
yeah,
that box
exactly.
up, see what works and see what doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? That's number one. That's solution number one. Number two is spend 2% more per game to make and ship a stock of the of the components, so you have a bins of everything that you need to send out, which I believe they actually probably already do.
They did that, but they got rid of the bins and the people.
They're just trying
It's a private equity firm.
They're trying to make it. They're trying to put a
damper.
I'm going to say a hurdle between you and an easy return process.
Right.
And it's not even a return process. It's a replacement process.
But
I need one little thing to make this game work.
I have 197 games, and 2 of them are from Asmodee. No, okay, my Z-Man is Asmodee.
Yeah.
But most of the games that I play and I buy are not Asmodee.
I will say this, given this
situation,
this policy,
yeah.
When an Asmodee comes up on the podcast, when we're talking about it in the news, I'm probably going to put that disclaimer in. I'm probably going to say, hey, listen, if you like this game, get it, but just beware. If anything is broken or anything is missing, this is an Asmodee product, and you should factor that into your decision.
Right, and particularly if it has a lot of parts.
No,
like
exactly.
Isn't Twilight Imperium them?
Fantasy Flight.
Yeah,
which is them.
That's them. And it has a ton of pieces.
Absolutely.
So do you want to take that chance?
A couple last things. The Slate magazine put out a wonderful, wonderful article. You should all check it out, called Dr. Drunkenstein's Reign of Terror. It is about the number one ranked chess player in the world today, Magnus Carlsen, who we find out has been basically trolling in the online speed tournaments. He's been going under pseudonyms like Dr. Drunkenstein and has been just wiping the floor with people playing speed chess, but he's not doing it in a way where he's just trolling them and destroying them.
Right.
What he's doing is he's playing very suboptimal games to get the board state into these really unique and different areas.
Good.
And sort of he's toying with people, and it's coming from, it seems to be, the article is talking about it though, that it's coming from a place of joy, like pure joy of the game. Like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do 10 suboptimal things, probably still win the game, but I just want to explore the space.
What this looks like. Yeah, sure.
There is they're calling him the Mozart of chess because when you think of Tom Hulse in Amadeus and how he's just this wacky guy.
I never saw the movie, you guys.
Oh, you should see it. It's wonderful. It really is great. There are these moves or these positions. There's a position called Zugzwang, which is a position in which when you get the board into that state, any move a player can make is going to weaken your position. Like it's a balanced position where everybody is strong and whoever has to move next is weakening their position. And it's a position that people put into instructional books, but never happens in real life. Well, guess what? He's playing the game in such a way that he puts the board into that state. If you want to read about somebody that is a master of his game and truly enjoys it as a game, check out this article. I think it brought a smile to my face. I think it'll bring a smile to yours. Speaking of smile to your face, I can't not talk about this as the last point of the news. A GOP state senator in Wisconsin, I believe, yes, has announced that he wants legislative pages in the state house to stop playing Secret Hitler at work.
I know, huh?
He's complaining about legislative pages using work time to play a game that pits fascists against liberals, trying to root out a secret Hitler. And some games swap the Hitler character for Donald Trump and Mike Pence and so on and so forth.
He should try Black Orchestra.
Yes, no kidding, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Or let's go farther, Escape from Colditz.
Yeah.
Senator Steve Nass complained to his Senate GOP colleagues that full-time and part-time staffers have been playing Secret Hitler, and he felt, I don't know, did he feel that it was a little close to home, or?
Yeah, really.
I don't know. Anyway, you can look it up at Madison.com, which is, I guess, for Wisconsin is their go-to site for information. You can check out that article. It's a fun little thing just to say listen, there's all kinds of subversion that can happen in the world, and sometimes games can be subversive.
Well, but now did you see the Anti-Defamation League in Australia? Didn't you talk about that?
We talked about that last week. Yes. Mm-hmm. Which is one of those things that it is tough for me. I'm not Jewish, so how do I tell a person if they're overreacting? I can't really.
I don't know. I know, like just like me, I'm not white, right? And I'm not Jewish or anything, but I think we have the ability to empathize.
Absolutely.
So, I understand what they're saying, but at the same time, as you being a creative, know that a lot of this can really reduce the creative space.
Yeah. Daniel Tosh does a joke in one of his comedy specials where he does a joke that's sort of at the expense of a marginalized group to some degree, and it gets applause and it gets laughter, and he says, all right, that's the right response to that joke. If it gets too big, if I start hearing a yeehaw in the audience, I shut it down.
Right.
Because
exactly.
you are getting way too excited about this joke. What I'm doing is I'm doing a mean joke.
Right.
But as long as you're not, as long as it isn't a big thing.
Empathetic.
Exactly. And I think Secret Hitler, I could potentially see playing it with the wrong crowd and seeing them get excited about the game
Right,
for the wrong reasons.
Right.
I would be like, oh,
MAGA people.
shut it down.
Yeah,
shut it down.
In fact, you wouldn't even play that game with MAGA people.
No, I don't like the game. Period. So
Right, me neither.
I don't play it anyway. But I know that the game is designed to be a critique of fascism. It's supposed to be an attack on fascism.
Exactly.
And because of that, when we talked about it last week, we were talking about it in those terms. That the organization in Australia that was trying to shut the game down, I think, might have been missing out on the fact that it was actually. It was on their side. The game was on their side.
Right, exactly. And they should try it. Or they should try Black Orchestra. They probably like Black Orchestra.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was the news.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.